Hello and welcome back to our second Down Le Pub on a Friday night. It's Friday night, isn't it, guys? Honestly, it's Friday night. We've got to pretend. It's Friday.
You know it's Friday night when
We've
it
got to
merges
pretend.
into Saturday.
That's true.
It was a good
That's
night.
true.
It's a good night.
It is Friday somewhere.
We've got to pretend that we've just had a night in Le Pub and we are back just chatting about one or two things. We have a special guest here. And we've already revealed who it is, but let me welcome him officially. You may have seen him a lot on Nick Streams, NDTVI. It is Ben Manilla.
Wow.
Hey, good to
Hi,
be
Ben.
here. Good to be here.
Now, Ben, you are, I would say, a man about town. A man about town. You spend a lot of time in Pattaya, spend a lot of time in Bangkok,
Yep.
and go all around the world. So, very briefly, on your travels, have you ever found anywhere like Pattaya? Anything you can say? Would you say Pattaya isn't as good as this place, or what do you reckon?
I think there's a lot of places that are similar in some ways, but Pattaya is still very unique. If there's one place internationally that probably feels more like this town than anywhere else, it would be Angeles City in the Philippines.
Right.
Just because it has a walking street, it
Yeah.
has that nightlife. The nightlife is the center of the town. So I'd probably say Angeles is the closest to Pattaya, but there's lots of cities that have similar themes or competitive nightlife, but most similar I'd say is Angeles.
So for those people that have never been to Angeles or never been to the Philippines, three things I always hear. On the positive, you always hear all the people speak good English,
Yep.
better than Thailand. You then hear there's a lot more girls around.
Yeah.
And there's always something we can't really mention on the podcast, but it's to do with Catholicism.
Ah, yes.
And they can all sing. That's the only thing I know about Philippines.
They can sing.
All of them can
in fact,
sing.
even in the bars in Thailand, most of the time
Most of them
they're
are
from the
Filipino,
Philippines,
aren't they?
right?
Filipino.
Yes, it wasn't to do with singing, but never mind.
Never mind.
And the negatives are always people don't feel secure. They feel a little bit like the security. Everyone's got guns. Everyone says, "Oh, you go down the McDonald's and there's a bloke outside with a Kalashnikov or something protecting it." And you always hear that the food's a bit basic. What would you say to that?
I would 100% agree with. Okay, the food is just slam dunk. The food is not as good as Thailand. It's nowhere near as good as Thailand. There's in Angeles, I'd say there's one good Italian restaurant and a couple of good places, kind of hotel restaurants that you can eat at, and the food is really competitive. The rest of it, yeah, it's not the same. It's definitely not the same. The variety, the quality, I'd agree with that.
Have you been to, because people talk a little bit about Korea, Seoul, as
Yes.
being quite an interesting place.
Very interesting place.
What's the nightlife like there?
Nightlife there Seoul is just huge. So I tend, when I've been there, I've tended to stay in a place called Itaewon.
Okay.
Itaewon is kind of like, it's fairly central. It's pretty near to the business district. Funnily enough, it's quite near to where like the US forces have their base. So it has a bit of everything in terms of, it's a busy nightlife. It's a good scene.
So if we're going for a night out in Seoul,
Yeah.
is it food? Is it karaoke? Is it massage? Is it what is it?
It's almost inevitably Korean barbecue to start with, which is one of the highlights. So that's always a good start. Probably the wheels get a little loose when when the shoju comes out, which every Korean will insist on. By the way, there's no way you're avoiding that. So you'll have your Korean barbecue. Here comes the shoju, and then from there, probably in Itaewon itself, there's a couple of really condensed streets with lots and lots of bars on. So you'd end up moving between a few of those, and then it's a choice. Basically, if you're with Koreans, you go into KTV.
Right.
That's guaranteed. And if you're just out and about, you might end up in one of the big nightclubs. Unfortunately, and I've seen this in quite a few different parts of Asia, some of the go-to places before the pandemic that you will instinctively want to go back to just aren't there anymore.
Okay.
And that tends to be the kind of mega nightclubs that struggled for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
And I've seen that. By the way, I've seen that a lot in Vietnam as well.
What about Tokyo? Have you been?
I haven't been to Tokyo since 2019, so I'm looking forward to going back because I've spent a long time there.
Going back to the Philippines, Ben, how about Manila?
Manila, see, Manila itself, which I obviously have quite a bit of experience in, hence the name. And I lived there for, I was basically living there full time for 6 months, and then in and out of there with projects for a lot longer.
It's a bit crowded there, no?
It is very crowded. The traffic's horrible. But going back to what Phil said about safety, yes, you can kind of look at the armed presence of all these private armies and security guards as a threat or as somewhat of a comfort, right? Manila particularly is if you stay in Makati, right, which is the main, again, it's the business area, but it's also the nightlife area. I don't know many people, certainly not in my experience, have had a problem.
Yeah.
It feels a little rough around the edges than Thailand, but literally, I've always felt quite comfortable. I think as soon as you start going really off-piste, if you went to a neighborhood you never heard of, or you went to one of the areas around the airport which isn't as safe, there's no guarantees that's going to work out so well. But Manila itself the traffic's a problem. But they have just maybe not just open, but they've expanded this thing called the Skyway.
Right.
Which is a toll road effectively that goes around town. It costs, costs a couple of dollars to use it, so the taxi will add that to the fare, but it just means you get from A to B in 20 minutes,
it's relatively small, presumably, because it's like the most densely populated city in the world, apparently, yeah?
It is. For a big city, it is quite a small area, although it's like all these cities, it's expanding, but it is dense population. And the biggest problem with Manila is it doesn't have a viable public transport system. I mean, it's got the equivalent of the BART buses, the jeepneys that go around, or the ones that always make me laugh are the trikes. That's my favourite thing.
They don't have rickshaws, no. They don't have those.
No, just the sidecars on these motorbikes. But they don't really have they haven't got the BTS, or they haven't got the metro system that a lot of big cities have got, which helps them to handle the traffic. Manila is that's the problem.
Does it compare to like Hong Kong?
In terms of
sort of crowds, busyness, chaos.
It does. It probably feels like Hong Kong felt in about 1970, right?
Which was about when I went, probably.
Yeah. So it's definitely, it's not as clearly it's not as developed as Hong Kong, but it has that feeling of you rarely see a very quiet street. It's always something going on.
Did you ever fly into that airport in Hong Kong?
Yes. Love that airport. In fact, I have a good story about that airport.
We like a good story on this channel.
And I'm gonna struggle to remember the name of the Chinese airline, but one of the Chinese airlines, unfortunately, and we can laugh about it because no one died, but unfortunately, either they didn't calculate it very well or something went wrong. They ended up overshooting the runway and going into the harbour.
Wow.
And that was there when I first went to Hong Kong.
What, the plane?
The plane. The plane was in the drink. The airport was still open. But
they didn't have in-flight entertainment when you were coming into the airport because you looked at the TVs in the living rooms of the people.
Yeah, exactly.
But on that theme, does anybody remember coming into Don Muang in the 90s? And I don't know if it's still there, but there was all the military planes on the left. And it was like a Vietnam era graveyard of planes. And then that was on the left, and then on the right there was the famous golf course.
You got hit by a golf ball once, didn't you, coming in?
I didn't get hit by a golf ball, no.
That golf course, though, I was reading about that golf course. It's apparently you can pay to play there. It's owned by the army.
Yeah, I heard it was military. Yeah.
But you can pay to play there, and I've always wondered what it would be like to try and time your drive. Just as a 747's just basically pulling past, right, and try and catch the jet stream. But
Just before we move on, you very, very briefly touched on Vietnam. How's Vietnam?
Vietnam was, to be honest, they were quicker. They were quicker than Thailand to get their act together after the pandemic. So they opened pretty quickly. I was there. I'm trying to remember. The first time I went there was probably the middle of 2022, perhaps. And Thailand was getting there for sure, but everything was wide open. There was no restrictions in Vietnam. Very few masks, interestingly enough. And it was, the only disappointment was some of the old haunts that I was looking forward to going back to just hadn't made it.
Which city was that?
That was in Ho Chi Minh.
Yeah, okay. So, I don't know if you know, but I went to the UK over Songkran. And I missed it all. I spent. Everyone goes, "Oh, where was you on the 19th?" Oh, I was down the 7th. I was down the 6th. It was girls with wet t-shirts and all that. What did I do? I was in a Greg's the Baker's, having a nice sausage roll or a pasty. Our first podcast was about Songkran and the fact that I didn't like it. Balloon Chaser did. How did you find it, Ben?
I wasn't here as well. So.
Oh wow!
That was. I landed 12 hours after it ended.
So let's move to your right then.
Well, I'll tell you what, on the first podcast, I was played in the role of being the Songkran person, slightly set up, I might say, with the bright Songkran shirt, the shades.
Set up?
And the cap on the wrong way round, so a few comments about that.
Captain Sensible.
Yeah. Did look like that, didn't it? But I think the reality, particularly of that last day on the 19th, was really good. I mean, I think I said on the first one, the fact that we hadn't had it for like 3 or 4 years, everyone seemed to just get that release of, it's great, we're back to normal, everything's like it should be, and people just went crazy on that last day.
But a lot of bar owners are saying, like, they didn't sell much beer over those times.
Yeah, I think the problem for businesses is people are out and about having fun, they've got their water pistol, they're drenched to the skin, and other than buy a few glasses of water or something like that, they've probably not much shopping done. I went inside the shopping centres for about 5 minutes, and because I was wet through, once you went into the air conditioner, it was freezing cold. So you just wanted to get back out on the street, not because you wanted to join the action, but because that's the only way you could keep warm.
But the feedback I've heard, and even the most diehard Songkran enthusiasts, no one is saying that they think 8 days is an appropriate amount of time. Yeah. I think it's probably 8 days because it was all the pent up. 3 years of closing, but no one wants that.
But if the whole 8 days thing is because the bar owners want it, because they make money, if they're not making money, why don't they just get together and say, oh, well, I can understand the 13th, because it's a bit confusing, isn't it? 13th is the official Songkran Day for the whole country. And
is
then
it not 13 to the 15th, or is it just the 13th?
I think, 13th is the official. Everybody is a bank holiday as well.
Yeah, there's like UK. 3 different days, like a Children's Day and Family Day.
And then 18th is officially Naglua, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes.
19th somewhere else. And oh dear, there seems to be something going on outside. I'm not quite sure about. We've got a beer delivery. What you got to remember in this bar, it's not a recording studio. There is an active bar, so we're having a beer delivery coming. Yes, this is what we like to see. Never mind. Okay, so moving on from Songkran, there's quite a few interesting talking points going on about the moment. One of which in Pattaya is the forthcoming election, and the election seems to only be in Thailand. Well, the bars are going to be closed or whatever. But actually, there's some quite serious points going on as far as the future of Pattaya, the future of Thailand. Have you got any thoughts on that, Pete or Ben?
Well, I think one of them that will be quite interesting for people who live in Pattaya is, what did we say last time? Every new business that's opening up seems to be a cannabis shop, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And I think one of the issues in the election, maybe not the biggest one, but is which parties are going to continue with the cannabis explosion and which parties might actually say it's back on the restricted list and it's all going to come to a grinding halt.
Yeah, that's true, because the whole cannabis thing has been nothing short of a revolution, really. But it's never, from what I understand, it's never been 100%. All the legislation's never been completed, right?
That's true.
As I understand it, you can sell cannabis, any part of the plant, but it has to be for medicinal reasons, and it has to be, you can't consume it like in a shop. You can only consume it you only consume it privately, and you certainly can't consume it somewhere where it sells alcohol. You're not allowed to sell it with somewhere that sells alcohol, but all that has been completely mixed up. But I'm personally, you say there's been an explosion. I think personally it's fool's gold, because you look at all these shops, and there doesn't seem to be anybody in them.
No. I don't mean explosion as in it's necessarily a massive success. It's just a massive number of businesses.
Retail, yeah.
But I don't see, even at this stage, if people are not making money, how are all these shops paying the rent, paying the staff?
I was speaking to a guy who's got a lot of cannabis shops the other day, and interestingly, I know he watches the channel, so hello if you're watching. He was completely blottoed, by the way. It may well have been cannabis, it may well have been alcohol, I'm not sure. But he was telling me, basically there's a 70% markup on the product, and you only need to do 4 or 5 transactions a day to try and get, to be able to sort of break even.
Yeah.
And what they were saying was, most people are spending 1,000 baht or more. So you only need to take, 5,000 baht to start making a profit. But for me, it's such a small product. You've got people that have literally set up little stalls on Walking Street. I don't know what it's like on Soy LK and all that, but they've just set up little stalls, and they're selling exactly the same products, a lot cheaper than these shops that are spending thousands and thousands on rent and have done them out nice and a marketing. And
it's the same. It's the same in Bangkok as well. I mean, there'll be places all around Cowboy selling it for cheap as well. So it's. But I think that the biggest thing is less about how successful the businesses are. It's more like Pete was saying. There's one. I know the tax inside of the politics, right? If was it his daughter or his
daughter? Yeah.
If his daughter's running, and if she gets in, I know it's all very complicated to understand who gets in Thai politics. But if she had a controlling stake, there is some debate as to whether they go backwards on the whole thing.
Yeah, so absolutely.
I mean, famously, I am no expert, by the way, on Thai politics. Just 1 second. Come here, Pit Pade, mate. Thank you. Just closing the curtains. Pull back the curtains. Famously, in 2006, when Prime Minister Thaksin was in power, there was, I think it was referred to as a shoot-to-kill policy on drug users and drug pushers. I'm not quite sure if it was quite like that.
In the south of Thailand, yeah?
Yeah, in the south of Thailand, where there was a big problem with drugs coming in from other countries. And it's quite clear that Thaksin is not very keen on drugs, recreational drugs. But I don't think this is a dilemma. And again, speaking as somebody who doesn't understand Thai politics, but it's a huge cash crop for the poor farmers of Isan. So his traditional base support is in the northeast, where those farmers are, and all of a sudden they're saying, well, hold on a minute, we're making a bit of money here. So, it's a dilemma, and it's going to be interesting how it all comes out.
The other part of it, which, you can be a bit cynical about this as well, but the other part of it is the guy who really pushed this whole cannabis agenda was Anutin, who, by the way, was the same guy who made several decisions that weren't optimal about COVID, right?
That is
yes.
true. Including the dirty farang as well.
Yeah, he doesn't really like phalanx, does he?
He does not.
So maybe this was a good distraction for him to save his skin, and maybe that's served its purpose. So we're on to something else now.
And his poll ratings at the moment, as an individual for Prime Minister, are incredibly low.
Yeah, amazingly low.
Almost as low as the Prime Minister himself.
As I want to point out, we are not experts on Thai politics. So anyway, it'll be interesting to see. I mean, for me, as well as cannabis, the big issue is minimum wage. And if you look at all the election posters that are out and about in Pattaya, everyone is talking about minimum wage is going to be 600 baht a day, 900 baht a day. So it's going to double or treble the legal minimum wage, surely that's going to have massive effect on, well, it's going to be positive towards the economy. I mean, almost, we were talking earlier about South Korea.
Yeah.
I mean, I've always said South Korea, same sort of size as Thailand, same sort of economy, sort of a little bit colder climate, but why is South Korea this super amazingly developed country and Thailand isn't? Because 40 years ago they were both basically the same.
Yeah.
And I think things like minimum wage are going to push forward, but surely that's going to have a massive effect on the bars if that is the case.
I mean, going back to the minimum wage, I mean, I was still shocked. Well, I was shocked on two levels. One, I didn't even know Thailand had a minimum wage. That was the first one. But the second one, when I found out it's basically like 300 or 350 baht a day, when you see the way that the prices have gone over the past couple of years here as well as the rest of the world,
it's got to change, hasn't it?
It has to change, because you look at even basic rents for a room with a fan and all of that kind of stuff, how people can survive on basically 9,000 baht a month. I'm not completely clear on, and I've been living here over 10 years.
Well, there's a huge black economy, isn't there? There's a huge economy of nobody pays tax here, very, very low taxation economy, and people are doing little side hustles everywhere, you know. Which
I mean, lots of people do pay tax here.
Yeah, they pay tax, but I mean, my tax, I pay tax. I've got a work permit. I pay tax. I've got business. My business pays tax. It's minuscule compared to the UK.
Yeah,
You know,
that's true.
which is why people moan about the roads and the infrastructure. That's why, because there's no money coming into the
Well, I don't know about. Is that necessarily true? I'll tell you one that was an interesting story.
Sorry, have you got a cough, Balloon Chaser?
Well, something came out this week about didn't the mayor announce that they're finally going to finish the big football stadium or sports stadium that's been under construction for the last 15 years.
Yeah.
Is that on the dark side?
Yeah.
It's out on the eastern seaboard,
wasn't that
isn't it?
for a special event? Wasn't that for like an
nobody can
Olympics or
remember,
Southeast
because
Asian Games or something?
15 years ago it was started, and then it stopped, and it's been delayed, I think, 7 years without anything being done, something like that. I mean, 15 years ago, the world was so different. 15 years ago, 2008, West Bromwich Albion were champions of the championship.
You would get a football reference somewhere.
Watford was 6th,
Oh, the glory days.
and Aston Villa was 6th in the Premier League.
He's done his homework, hasn't he?
That's what those
Stato.
Some things
That's what
never
those notes were
change.
about.
Yeah, Aston Villa's still 6th in the Premier League, so something hasn't changed since 2008. But they've been trying to finish that stadium for the last 15 years or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And now, presumably the mayor's elections are coming up as well, are they? Is he up for a re-election?
No, the mayor's in for another 2 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he announced last week that it's all going to be finished in the next 2 years.
So on the basis that the football stadium's taken, 15 years too late?
Yep.
The monorail should be on deck for about 2075.
I did hear Phil say in a video that, the high-speed train is coming to Pattaya within the next 2 or 3 years. And
There is a difference between the high-speed train and the monorail.
Neither of those.
The
things will be
high-speed
coming
train will.
in
I think the high-speed train will happen.
2-3 years, no way.
I think
Is
it's.
it, but the high-speed train
29.
wasn't the high-speed train going to connect Utapao and
Yes,
Swampy and all that?
and it's on the way. It's on
no,
the
that
way.
is, but does it coming to Pattaya as well?
It is, but it all depends about your definition of Pattaya, and the geographical location, because the station is actually, and you can see the construction work also going on, is going to be near to the Ambassador Hotel,
Right.
which ironically, all the land there is owned by the big CP Foods company, which ironically is also building the railway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's obviously a need, because I saw this morning, one of the things that popped up was the Central Group, right? The Central shopping mall.
Which is, isn't it Italian?
It might be, yeah.
I think it's half Italian.
It might be,
yeah.
but they're going to run buses from their central malls in Pattaya to Bangkok.
Wait a minute. I think somebody did a video about this, didn't they?
There you go.
Have you not seen that, Ben? There is a video about that from some channel or other. I can't remember the name of it right now.
It's worthwhile pointing out that my wonderful partner Balloon Chaser has got his own channel, and that video about that particular bus that goes from
Oh, there you go.
Central
I need to see that.
Central Pattaya to Central Ceylon is
Central World.
Central World.
You're obviously ahead of the curve then, because this is out in the main media this morning.
It was out in the main media this morning, and it was out on my channel last week, or
there you go.
something like that.
There you go.
I don't know where they picked it up from, but whatever.
Talking of incomplete projects, the Walking Street beautification, some people say gentrification of Walking Street, was put on hold during high season. So all the hard work of digging the tunnels underneath Walking Street, laying down the waterworks and the electrics and the communications ducts, that's all been done, but it hasn't been connected together. And the idea is that all the wires that you see above Walking Street are all going to be coming down. Should be starting again next month. On the point of like Walking Street, you're a man about town, Ben. You go to all these places more than me. People say to me, "What's this new nightclub like? What's this?" I've got no idea because I just stay here and talk to people. What's the feel? What's the vibe for Pattaya at the moment?
It's good. It's good. I think it's obviously it's had a bit of a gold rush with Songkran and a lot of Thai public holidays over the last couple of months. So there's been a lot of people here, locals as well as tourists. That's been great. It's probably feels like it probably will calm down a bit, just in number of people, but it's really lively. I mean, being on Walking Street feels like the good old days now.
Yeah.
It feels like and in fact, one of the places we were having a debate, I'm interested to know your view on this. I think it used to be a bank on the end of Walking Street. The Bangkok Bank, right?
Yeah.
Which is now is a open bar.
Beer bar, yeah.
And obviously, well, not obviously, but I think it's probably got a huge amount of foot traffic coming into Walking Street. And the question is that location as valuable as they seem to think it is? That
location is absolutely Bangkok. That is prime real estate.
Yeah.
I mean, we always say that crossroads or junctions are great locations. Look at the Triangle Bar.
Yeah.
You know, on Soi Tayapum. That Craft Cottage, is that the one you went to for Nick's? The Craft Cottage on the corner of LK
Metro,
and Soi Diana. Yeah. Oh, okay, that's a different one. That's a perfect location.
And they were, people were saying, oh, they're asking for 10, 11, 12 million for that location. I'm like, well, it's got the most people. I mean, if you make the right business there, it's probably worth something like it.
Well, it's interesting because I've looked at that. I haven't looked at it financially, but I've looked at it as a punter and said they've done that really cheap.
Yeah.
They've set up a business. Really, they haven't really spent a lot of money. Very Thai style. So it sounds to me like they've set it up and now they're going to try and flog it on.
So.
Which, by the way, isn't such a bad idea. I mean, there's somebody who's done that to a well-known topless bar on Soi Diamond.
Was anyone around Walking Street when that rather unwell lady climbed up the signage and the scaffolding in the last couple of days? Did you see that?
No, I didn't know.
Oh, apparently she was out from, shall we say, a mental institution, but climbed up on the signage and had to be tied up by the authorities to be brought back down.
Oh dear.
I mean, mental health issues it's a huge issue in Thailand because they just ship them off to the temple and that's it really.
Yeah.
But on the point of Walking Street itself, it's definitely a different vibe. There's a lot more Indian discos there now, and anywhere past sort of I-bar is very, very much Russian. But if you look at, inside those bars, it doesn't seem to be past. Yeah, I'd say past I-bar. I-bar is the last stand really, and after that, everything. Even that tunnel. Have you been to the tunnel?
Not yet.
Bar,
no.
yeah. That's a new nightclub that's opened up, owned by the same people that have got 808 and all that. And it never seems to be that many people in there. What about? I mean, I know you're good friends with Nick over on NDTVI. What's Soi 7 looking like?
Soi 7's doing. I mean, he's doing well. He's got now obviously 3 bars.
Yeah. And a hotel.
And a hotel, which is I think a really good move because I think their vision on Soi 7 was to kind of create a little bit of a hotspot, and 3 bars and a hotel's a good start, right? So
brilliant, yeah.
I think that's worked well. I think Nick's actually always thinking about new ways. So as a you, right, to generate interest in the different bars.
Was you somebody that used to hang around Secrets back in the day when that was a big thing? Secrets on Soy 14.
Yes.
Because the concept there was it was a hotel, it was a taxi service, it was a yacht.
Visas as well, didn't they?
They didn't do visas as far as I know, but they did a yacht and a villa. Yeah. So, but everything was around that area. So basically, they picked you up in their taxi, took you to their hotel. You stayed in their hotel. You drunk at their bar. If you fancied taking a few girls out, you hired their boat. It was a really good concept.
Nick's latest thing, which he's talked about already on YouTube, but I think he's getting close to going live on, is he's bought a stake, bought a percentage or whatever in a Indian curry house.
Wow.
So he is covering all markets.
I've never had a steak in a curry house. I always go to a steakhouse.
I thought that he's bought a steak.
Yeah, bought a steak.
That's not new. That's not news, is it?
So that's hot news.
But actually, talking about the Indians, I heard something quite interesting. This is probably a couple of months ago, but it kind of makes sense because there's just huge numbers of Indians that come here, and I was thinking to myself, it is quite a big amount of discretionary income just to blow on coming to Thailand for 3 or 4 days, and they seem to have a fairly set schedule of. They go to their Indian restaurants. They always go to the soapy massages. You see the buses outside there. And someone said to me, "You know why they do that?" And I said, "Well, no. Tell me." And they said so there's a lot of obviously call center jobs in India,
right?
And as part of their compensation, they will get
it's a
3-day holiday, including a soapy massage, including the return flight, and basically because I think in Indian society the wives control the purse strings. That's paid to them as a benefit, so they don't even have to worry about the cash. Bit of cash as well, and that's why they're here. That's one of the main reasons.
That is good performance management.
That is
quite literally. Going to a soapy massage. That would make me work harder for 12 months just to do that.
In your contract,
1
soapy massage per annum.
You have exceeded expectations. Go to a soapy massage.
Exactly.
I did actually go. Before I went to the UK, I did go to Janat, the big.
I thought you went to a soapy massage.
No, I've never been to a soapy massage. No.
And Ben, have you been to a soapy?
I have.
Yeah. You have to go once.
Well, hold on. Is this like he always gives me little hints about what videos he wants me to do?
Oh, this could be a good video.
Misteregg goes for a soapy.
He's been pushing for me to jump off a cliff or
you've
something.
Already had
parachute.
You've had the Misteregg gets waxed, haven't you? You've had that one. You've had the waxing one. The soapy's the next one.
This is a moot point because I was telling Phil that I met this YouTuber in Central last week who's got thousands, if not millions, of subscribers, and he's a very nice bloke, American guy. And his latest video is he goes and gets a waxing, and he's got loads of views. Now, Phil went for waxing a few months ago. And apart from a few members, and I don't mean in the waxing department, but apart from a few members...
It's a members-only video.
They've seen it, but the public hasn't. And I think really we need a petition to get that video out.
It was the most humiliating thing that ever happened to me in my life.
That's why I liked it so much, really. I mean, there should be some comments on this podcast. Please, everyone, comments on the podcast. We need to see Phil's waxing video. But not just the members, so to speak.
If people want to see me lying there while a mildly attractive lady...
She was nice.
She was very nice.
She was
and very professional. Yeah. But it's just me being a big wuss. Is that a term from... Is that a northern term, wuss?
I'm familiar with it.
Yeah. Just a big crybaby, because I found it quite excruciatingly painful. But you've got to remember that I have never, ever cut my... chest or the chest hair.
Where was waxed? I can't remember.
We were told, weren't we? We can't wax anything below. We can't film anything below the belt line.
Okay.
Well,
Chest
we were
then.
told,
because
yeah.
we didn't have a micro camera, did we? That's why. I think that's what they said.
So it's just me lying there and some woman pulling these strips of wax off and me going, ah!
And then you've got things hanging out your nose and your ears and all that sort of thing. I mean, it's
Mind you,
top,
you're the-
top
I
entertainment.
think Phil, you're the only one that's not of the main YouTubers in this town that hasn't done the
The
P
P
shot.
shot.
Yeah,
But I was approached by the P shot people,
yeah, I'm sure.
and they sent me an email saying, would you please like to do a free video on this? And I went, no, you're all right. I said,
he went,
thought of that P
he
shot.
went, no, I won't be doing it, but I know a bloke who needs it. And the next day I got an email by coincidence. I don't know why that was.
no, I wish them all the best. I said, I don't believe in this kind of,
I can't see them.
medication.
I can't see them selling that much.
but I wish you all the best. I think I left it like that. And the woman was really, really upset. She
Really?
got really upset that I said no.
Is it an injection? Is that what you have?
Yes.
So it's just a little prick. It's one of those. Is it? Is it like that?
Well, a little prick, but it's a little prick somewhere. Pretty
Wow.
difficult, right?
Well, dear, oh dear.
Anyway, moving on to from small pricks to Watford.
What a link! Teed that up for you perfectly.
No, because it is coming to the end of the football season, and we are Friday night. We've had a great Friday night here at Le Pub. Wink, wink. We talk a lot about sport in the bar.
Mm-hmm.
You're a man. You're a lifelong Watford fan.
I'm a lifelong Watford fan. In fact, talking about sport in the bar, the first time I ever came into the pub, the first thing I noticed was up there was Phil's got a flag. It's a flag from the Masters, right?
Yes, yes.
So that was I asked him about that, and then we realised that we're both quite into
Sports.
sports.
Yeah.
And off we went. But yeah, for Watford this year, it's been
We're not talking the Premier League, are we?
no Championship.
Championship. My team's in the Championship
Yeah.
as well, West Bromwich Albion.
How many managers has your team had this year?
Only 2.
Yeah, we've
Right.
had 3.
Right. Well, Watford has got a bit of a reputation, shall we say, for sacking managers.
Yeah.
That's mild. That's an understatement.
It
That's
is the
an
soy
understatement.
six of the footballing world.
It
Did
is.
anyone listen to Simon Jordan on TalkSport?
Simon Jordan, who's the
Crystal Palace.
Crystal
Crystal
Palace
Palace owner, yeah.
was talking about Chris Wilder, who's the current Watford manager, is he not?
Yeah.
And
Who's good?
Wilder had kind of been accused of sort of hanging out the players to dry, and the system that Watford have used in regularly changing managers over the past few seasons,
Yeah.
2 or 3 times a year. And Jordan points out, well, actually, it's been relatively successful over the last decade or so for Watford, because although they could be described, I suppose, as a bit of a yo-yo team, they've spent a good proportion of that time in the Premier League.
They
So
have.
in that sense, the
Yeah,
system
I think
kinda
it's. I think
works.
it's only come unstuck the last couple of seasons. To me, everyone has their favourites, but for me, sacking Javi Gracia was just a crazy move. I mean, we'd finished 6th or 7th in the Premier League. We'd been in the FA Cup final. Okay, it wasn't the greatest final, but we got there, and we lost, I don't know, 4 or 5 on the bounce at the beginning of the next season, and within a couple of weeks he was gone. And to me, I understand the need for results. I also, I give the Watford management credit in the sense that there's nothing worse than waiting till it's already a dead duck, and then you make a decision.
Yeah.
They make decisions probably too quickly, but at least they make decisions. But sacking him led to basically 3 or 4 managers on the bounce, and ironically, Watford being biggest rivals with Luton, Luton's current manager is the guy who started with Watford at the start of the season. So if he takes Luton up, that would be an irony.
So where are we in the Championship at the moment? Obviously, Burnley are promoted.
Burnley are champions, yeah.
Burnley are-
Sheffield look like
No, I think they're up as well.
Sheffield are up as well.
right.
The 2 automatics are decided.
So it's between, is it Sunderland, Luton,
Middlesbrough,
Middlesbrough,
West Brom. to an
West
extent.
Brom are in there, Watford are in there,
No, Watford's not.
Millwall.
Watford's out the running.
Millwall are in there.
QPR.
QPR are going to get QPR are going to get relegated. No, maybe they won't. Do we know anyone who supports QPR on the channel?
No.
No, that's all right then.
Right, Flacky. So, for those people that are not aware of your club, Watford, you've got a very famous former chairman.
Yeah, well, I think he's life chairman still, but he was an active CEO and chairman at different stages.
And that is
Elton John.
But when you think of Elton John, you don't think of football, do you?
You don't. Although he is very passionate about football.
Yeah.
He loves his football, to the extent where Watford named one of their stands after him.
Yes.
And I think, to be honest, if you look at I can't remember if it was in the Elton John film or it was just definitely in his book, but Graham Taylor basically saved him.
Who was
Graham Taylor was the manager, famous
yeah.
manager that took Watford from the 4th division to runners up in the 1st division as it was then.
Yeah. And then he joined Aston Villa and it all went pear-shaped.
He joined Villa and we finished runners up in the 1st division or Premier League.
He came back to Watford again for round 2.
It went all wrong when he went to England.
Yeah, the turnip thing, right?
Yeah.
That's where it went wrong.
But on a serious note, back to Elton, Graham Taylor, and he credits Graham Taylor for this directly, just basically told Elton back in the early 80s, whenever Elton was really, on the ropes, just sort yourself out. And because he had that respect, he did. And Elton, changed and cleaned himself up and became who he became, right?
You've met a few famous people down the road. Have you ever met Sir Elton?
I have never met Sir Elton, no.
Wow. Because there was somebody you met in America that was many people might know in Las Vegas.
Topical.
Yeah.
A certain Stormy Daniels.
SD. What was she like?
She was fun, actually. I met her and then I said, you know what, we made a couple of funny little videos for people. And
whoa! What Stormy Daniels videos?
No, this is a daytime video.
Oh, okay, yeah. So what was? Don't worry about that. Just ignore it. That's Stormy Daniels' lawyer on the phone. Don't worry about that.
Stormy Daniels' lawyer's in prison, isn't he?
Oh, yeah. Avianti or whatever.
Yeah. He'll be down a long time.
So, just explain. I mean, you maybe want to put a bit of a backstory. It was at a Las Vegas convention.
Yeah. So I was in Vegas. They had the convention there. Stormy was front and center on one of the stands. So I went up to her and said, Stormy, if I give you $10, can you make can you say something for me? And she looked at me and says, "Depends what you want me to say."
For $10.
For $10.
Then again, she's received bigger checks than that.
She has received bigger checks than that. But as long
I believe you offered the $10. That's like 300 baht.
She's a classy lady.
I'd have gone straight for the 100. Straight for the 100.
It was only a 5-second video. But she said
it's not the first time she's performed for 5 seconds.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But I think if the orange coloured hair man was featured in my request, I would have not been getting the $10.
Yeah.
The approval. So we got a small entertaining video. Basically, it was on behalf of Sick Puppy, right?
Yeah, Sick Puppy is Sick Puppy is a bit of another man about town. Really.
He is. He's been here. He's now been here over a year.
Yeah,
retired here
from San Francisco. You met him
from
first time.
Yeah,
first time San Francisco.
So he was always keen to get out to Thailand to live, and retirement happened, and he's out here now. Yeah. So we got. I can't remember exactly what Stormy said, but something like. I would charge the earth, but for you, Sick Puppy, it's free.
Yeah.
So I'm sure he's used that with a few of his friends.
And Stormy Daniels, I mean, whatever happened to her?
Yeah, that is...
People say that Pattaya is like the Vegas of Southeast Asia.
Yeah.
How would you compare the two? I mean, obviously, Vegas, I've been at it, very corporate.
It is very corporate, although, again, recent developments in this town, David, who's the owner of... He was the owner of Mayfair's, Seoul Mayfair's.
Set up
and
Vegas.
we actually had dinner. We had a few of us out for dinner last week, and we went to Vegas.
Yeah.
Vegas a go-go.
This is a new go-go bar which is on LK.
It is.
Which is the former... Excuse me.
What was the pub at the end?
Oh, I can't remember.
green colour. You know the one.
I know it used to be a blue. Is it called blue?
Opposite Billabong, right?
Yeah. Okay.
So opposite there, that space was bought by David, and he's redeveloped it into. But I mean, I think he would say this as well. He's looking to put himself in the same conversation as Lady Love,
right? Yeah.
Queen, and now Vegas. Just in the LK area, for sure.
Yeah.
Pin up in Walking Street. But he's done a good job, and he's spent some money. He's got the roulette wheels in there.
Yeah.
Although it's funny, David was telling me, he said, just because you have to be so careful these days with copyright and everything else and having any connotations of gambling, which there clearly isn't, other than just referencing Las Vegas, he said he had to change the order of the roulette wheel. Change the numbering. So it's, the 20th red, not black, or whatever it is.
That was a great video that Nick and the team did there, live video.
Oh yeah, when he first opened, like the soft open.
Really, technically, that was brilliant. Fantastic. Yeah. Okay. What other bars are big? You think in LK at the moment, or if somebody was coming over, maybe on holiday, 2-week millionaires, they want to splash a bit of cash, nice pretty girls. Obviously, Le Pub and Milk, clearly. Don't forget those. But other than that, where would you say, where's your... Because you always turn up here with some young lady on your arm, and you meet them in a few diamonds in the rough.
Yeah. I think there's such different nights out. I even think places like... I was down having a few beers in Chayapoon the other day, and a lot of people were saying, oh, Chayapoon's finished and all the rest of it. And it's not. It's back. It's probably not the hub of everything, but there's a few nice bars. I love the way they've got away with the name of that one. They're about to open another branch of the. I think there's 2 Go-Go's and 1 beer bar called Sluts.
Yeah.
But Sluts is going to open a Go-Go on Chayapoon, which is interesting. It's a bit different. But there's you may add the High Rollers.
Yeah, do you like High Rollers?
I like High Rollers. I like they have a big screen in there. It's good for watching a bit of sport. The girls are pretty good. The atmosphere's...
It's a great looking bar, that.
It is a great looking bar.
Great looking bar.
So is Sluts a place where they get problems with trade descriptions, or are they perfectly all right with that?
Very accurate, I think.
I've got to be honest, I'm not a great fan of that name.
Yeah, it's a bit too,
I was
direct, right?
I was telling a story when I was in England, walking around the place I used to work. There was a place called the Steering Wheel on a Friday night, and it used to have a night called Slag, and it was straight, lesbian, and gay.
Do you remember, Phil? You might not be allowed to tell this story, but do you remember when there was a place, I think it was going to be called Suckers?
Yes.
Do you remember that one?
Yes. Which is now called... It's on Soy Diamond. It was...
do you remember the logo for it?
Yes, I do remember the logo. Suckers was going to be a Walking Street-based Lolitas. Lolitas being quite famous for certain services that could be purchased on...
Well, blow me down with a feather.
On Soy LK at the time in Seoul. And now, actually, Lolitas has moved to Soy Chayapoon, I believe.
Okay.
And it was going to be like that. And the logo was like... I'll try and do it into this camera. It was like those mannequins that you get sometimes in Thai fashion shops, and they were like...
Oh.
It was like that. It was like one of them. Quite interesting. Yeah, but it never opened because the police didn't like the name. So.
For some reason. For some unknown reason.
And it's now Nice a Go-Go. That's where Nice is. Nice is a very nice bar, actually. Have you ever been there? I think it's about time we said we kind of wrap things up for the time being. Ben, what have you got on? Anything? Are you flying out anywhere, or you?
No, here for a few more days, and then I rented out my place in Bangkok.
Oh, well done.
And that's I rented it out for a short-term lease, and it's coming back next week. So I'll go back when that's back online. And no, just a few more relaxing days here. All good fun.
Fantastic. And when's the next time you're back in the UK?
UK, I think I'll be going back over the summer. I reckon probably July.
Summer when the weather's good, I don't think there's anywhere like England.
So and the one thing you're right, the weather's great, but I love the fact that it gets dark so late.
Yeah.
You can sit out in a beer garden at 9 o'clock at night and it's light.
And on the flip side of that, I really hate it
The other way around.
when the time zone changes, and it is like 4 o'clock. You come out of work and it's already dark.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I hate that. Yeah, it's awful. Have a lovely summer, Ben. Can we have you back sometime
Of course.
on
Anytime.
the podcast?
Anytime.
Thank you. And it's been very nice chatting to you. We're going to do another podcast in 2 weeks' time. We might put that waxing video out soon.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
But we've got some interesting videos on the way. We've got one called Caught Red-Handed.
Caught red-handed. Not sure what that's about, but sounds good.
Have you ever got caught red-handed, Ben?
Yes. as all good red-handed action happens in Ibar. That's usually the point of rumbling.
Is that still, in your opinion, just very briefly, is that still the number one nightclub at the moment?
I think it's always going to be up there, just because it's just got the traction. It's got so many people, but it's got competition now.
Mist
is
well,
good.
Mist is the same owners as one or two same owners, no?
I think it is. I think it is. Although I think they're just quickly touching on Bukaw, I think the nightclubs that have opened there have struggled.
I've got feelings about that, and I think it's like there's I've got to be careful what I say. There's a lot of businesses in Walking Street that simply won't fail.
Yeah.
That simply won't fail.
I mean, Bling must have cost a lot of money to put together. But
what was that?
Bling.
Bling, yeah.
Must have
and
cost a
Bling
lot
has
of
now
money.
moved on. It's a Thai place.
It's not even reopened yet, I don't think.
That's being redone as a Thai place.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of that's to do with the footfall, and it's also to do with the licensing.
Licensing.
You can't,
massively.
4 o'clock sounds super late, but it's not for a nightclub. A nightclub needs, they really get busy when the go-go's close and
absolutely
the beer bars are finished, right?
Yeah, the spend after 2 o'clock is unbelievable compared to everything else that you get. Cool, man. Well, we will see you very well in the future sometime on the channel.
Yeah, definitely.
It's been
And
lovely talking to you.
tell us when you got caught red-handed, and that can go into our
That will
video.
go into the video,
We won't say it's you, Ben. Okay, nobody will know.
No problem.
Yeah, secret is safe.
So
with
the
us.
story about the ladyboy is Ben. No.
Hey.
Definitely Ben.
Talking to ladyboys, that's our biggest video ever on the channel. And
Biggest in terms of numbers, yeah.
numbers,
Oh,
yeah.
right.
More than
okay.
the 19-day marriage.
More than the 19-day marriage is a bit.
Well
In
more.
fact, our ladyboy video was our biggest video last month, even though we filmed it 6 months ago. Every new video we put up did not get as many views.
It just gets bigger and bigger.
So we've decided we're gonna re-enter
Yeah.
the subject of ladyboys.
Yeah.
Ladyboys re-entered.
Yeah.
Thai ladyboys play pool.
Yes. Well, I had that idea a few years ago, and Brian Flowers tried to turn me off that.
I thought it was a good one, especially when you said they bought their own snooker cues with you. I thought that was good.
So we might be going back to Toys R Us, because our good friends there. They've got a new PR manager there.
Are we allowed in the front entrance this time or not?
Seriously, we're a grown-up channel, and all you've done is come out with these double entendres.
Terrible. Terrible.
Yeah, so they've got a new PR manager there, so we're going to go there. We've got Red-Handed, and we're going to be possibly taking a journey to Bangkok as well, because we never really do Bangkok on this channel, and we want to do that. If anybody, quickly, Ben, as a last one, if somebody was going out in Bangkok, where would you? I'm sure you know some nice little cafe or nice little bar.
Yeah.
Anywhere in particular?
I really like. There's usual places, right? Everyone knows Nana. Everyone knows all that stuff. That's all common.
Yeah.
But I quite like the area behind Asok. So between Asok and Thonglor, around this area called Prompong.
Yeah.
There's tons of like, literally a cafe a day for a year.
Yeah.
They have nice little bars. They have one bar that's themed like a New York bar, basically.
Right.
So, and just with a great
bullet
Thai
holes
band.
everywhere.
That as well. Or the food scene there is great, and there's there's any amount of the usual stuff you want, right? So I would focus on that neighborhood.
Final question, Ben.
Yeah.
Night out in Bangkok, night out in Pattaya. What wins?
I think probably for the variety and just the convenience, probably Pattaya still wins.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Ben Manilla, for coming down.
Pleasure.
Ruining your Friday night, because it is, of course, Friday night. Wink, wink. We'll see you in a couple of weeks with another guest and another Pattaya podcast. But from all of us here, we'll go into that camera and say thank you very much and see you in 2 weeks. Bye.
Cheers, guys.
So yeah.